The billionaire was used to grand events, charity galas, business dinners, lavish parties. But nothing could have prepared him for what he saw that night. As he sat at the edge of the dance floor, watching quietly, a young black waitress approached his disabled son. Instead of pitying him like so many others, she offered her hand, and something incredible happened. The boy, hesitant at first, took a step forward, leading the dance. The room fell silent, and the billionaire felt something inside him shift. In that single moment, his view of life, love, and privilege would change forever. What happened on that dance floor changed not just the boy's life, but his father's entire perspective on the world. Stay until the end to see how one simple act of kindness turned into a life-changing revelation. The billionaire had spent most of his life believing that money could solve any problem. He built companies, employed thousands, donated to causes, and funded research centers, all in an effort to feel like he was making a difference. But at home, his greatest challenge remained: his only son, born with a disability that made walking difficult and dancing nearly impossible. The boy had always been shy, preferring to sit quietly on the sidelines while other children played. He hated the stares, the whispers, the way people either pitied him or treated him as fragile. His father loved him deeply, but often struggled to connect, believing that providing the best doctors, therapists, and equipment was enough. That night, they attended a prestigious fundraising gala hosted at one of the city's most luxurious hotels. The ballroom gleamed with chandeliers and polished marble floors, filled with the wealthiest and most powerful people in the city. The billionaire sat at his reserved table, scanning the room with a detached expression, while his son sat quietly beside him, clutching the armrest of his chair. When the music started, couples filled the dance floor. Laughter and movement surrounded them, but the boy's eyes stayed fixed on the ground. The billionaire felt the familiar pang of sadness, another moment his son was missing out on. Then something unexpected happened. A young black waitress, dressed in a crisp white shirt and black apron, noticed the boy sitting alone. She hesitated for a moment, then smiled warmly and walked over. She knelt down, said something softly, and extended her hand. The boy looked surprised, almost fearful, but she waited patiently. That simple act of kindness was about to set off a chain of events that neither the boy nor his father could have ever imagined. The boy's small hand trembled as he reached out, hesitant but curious. The waitress's gentle smile never faded as she helped him to his feet, steadying him carefully. At first, the boy barely moved, his steps slow and unsteady, but she matched his pace, taking tiny steps that made him feel safe. The music swelled in the background, and soon it was as if the entire ballroom had paused to watch. The billionaire sat frozen, his chest tight, unsure what he was feeling, pride, fear, or something else entirely. No one had ever dared to invite his son to dance before. Most guests pretended not to notice the boy, afraid to say the wrong thing, afraid to break the illusion of perfection that these high society events demanded. But this young waitress, someone considered invisible to most of the guests, had noticed him. As they took a few more steps, something miraculous happened. The boy began to smile. It was small at first, but then it grew, lighting up his whole face. He looked up at the waitress with a mix of joy and determination, as though he was daring himself not to fall. She gave him a small nod, letting him take the lead, and soon they were swaying together. People whispered around the room, some touched, others uncomfortable. The billionaire felt dozens of eyes turned toward him, waiting to see how he would react. Would he be embarrassed, angry? But he couldn't look away from his son. For the first time in years, he wasn't seeing a boy defined by limitations. He was seeing a boy who was living. The music ended, and the boy sat back down, breathing heavily but grinning from ear to ear. The billionaire noticed tears gathering in the corners of his own eyes. Something inside him stirred. A realization that he had been so focused on protecting his son from pain that he had been shielding him from life itself. He found himself curious about the waitress. Who was she? Why had she noticed his son when no one else did? After the dance, he watched as she returned to her duties, politely refilling glasses and clearing plates. But now he saw her differently. Not just as a waitress, but as someone who had given his son a gift no amount of money had ever been able to buy: confidence. That night, as they drove home, the boy couldn't stop talking about the dance. He replayed every moment, describing how he felt when everyone was watching and how brave he had felt taking those steps. The billionaire listened quietly, his mind turning. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about quarterly reports or mergers. He was thinking about what more he could do to give his son moments like this. The following day, the billionaire couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The image of his son smiling on that dance floor replayed over and over in his mind. For the first time in years, he felt as though he had witnessed his son's spirit breaking free of the invisible cage he had unknowingly placed around him. Determined to express his gratitude, he returned to the hotel where the gala had been held. He asked to see the young waitress, but the manager was hesitant, worried that something might be wrong. When she finally came out, she looked nervous, as though expecting to be scolded. But instead, the billionaire stood, thanked her, and told her what that moment had meant for his son, and for him. She seemed surprised that someone of his status would even notice her, let alone thank her. He asked her about herself and learned she was a college student, working double shifts to pay for tuition. She spoke humbly about the dance, saying she only wanted the boy to feel included, to feel like he belonged. The billionaire realized just how powerful that small gesture had been. It wasn't charity or pity, and it was dignity. And it had changed everything. That evening, he did something he had never done before. He called his entire staff together at home and spoke to them about inclusion, kindness, and the importance of seeing each person, regardless of position, as human. He looked at his son, who sat proudly beside him, and said that from now on, their home would not just be a place of wealth, but a place where everyone could feel welcome. It was a turning point not just for the billionaire, but for his entire household. His wife, his employees, even his business partners would soon notice the difference. A man who no longer measured life solely in profits, but in moments that truly mattered. In the weeks that followed, the billionaire's entire approach to life began to shift. He no longer simply attended events out of obligation or focused solely on business deals. Instead, he made it his mission to create more opportunities for his son and for other children like him to experience joy, inclusion, and dignity. He funded dance programs specifically designed for children with disabilities, giving them safe spaces to express themselves and build confidence. He invited therapists, artists, and mentors into his home, creating an environment where his son could grow without fear of judgment. Slowly, the boy began to blossom. He laughed more, took more steps on his own, and even began to ask when the next dance would be. But the billionaire didn't stop there. He also reached out to the waitress who had sparked this change in him. He offered to fund her remaining college education, insisting that her act of kindness deserved to be honored. She initially refused, saying she hadn't done it for recognition, but he explained that gratitude sometimes required action. The story of the gala dance spread across social media after a guest had filmed the moment. People from around the world commented on how powerful it was to see a child with visible limitations leading a dance with such joy. Many shared their own stories of moments when a small act of kindness changed everything. For the billionaire, the lesson was clear. All the money in the world couldn't buy what his son had experienced that night, but it could be used to make sure more children got that same chance. He had gone from being a man who controlled every detail of life to a father who finally allowed life to surprise him. And it all started with a single step, one that turned a quiet, overlooked moment into a turning point for an entire family. So ask yourself, what small gesture could you make today that might completely change someone else's world?